What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Alex Wilson. Oh, it is the birth of a new era. I cannot believe we are finally here, and I am announcing on the show, Daniel Jones has been benched. And not only has he been benched, he's been relegated to the third-string inactive quarterback. The Daniel Jones era is finally over. Guys, if you are upset about this, I'm sorry, but I am not. Let's fucking go. Tommy DeVito is back. I don't care if it was Drew Lock or Tommy DeVito. It didn't matter to me as long as Daniel Jones was out of the starting lineup. I am a happy boy today. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Brian Dable, for saving my year and taking Daniel Jones out of the starting lineup. It's finally over. The nightmares are over. He's gone. We don't have to worry about him ruining our Sundays any longer. The Giants have finally made the quarterback change. And to highlight the fact that he is the third-string quarterback inactive means that he won't see the field again this season, and we don't have to worry about that stupid injury clause screwing our future. Thank you, Brian Dable. Thank you, Joe Shane, for being smart and planning for the future. Alex, how are you doing today, my friend? I'm doing great. I just have to get this off my chest. I'm so excited. I am happy about this, but how are you feeling now that Daniel Jones is officially benched and my boy, QB1 Tommy DeVito, is back in the starting lineup?
Dude, Christmas freaking morning is what it felt like when I woke up to the news. I saw that and I said, the sun has risen, a new day, a new era. Dobby is a free elf. Finally acquired the sock. I can't believe it took this long. 10 weeks into this season, this long, a loss in Germany to the worst team I've seen, and then a new worst team that we've seen in the Giants. I mean, Daniel Jones has been deserving to be benched for weeks. We all know this, and this is the final time we get to rag on it. This is the final time that we get to say Daniel Jones was horrible. He was terrible for this Giants team. They gave him so much slack, so much privilege, so much money. For what? For nothing, for one inkling of a chance at a playoff, and we won one game, and it was an anomaly in a much larger sample. Now, it's not to say that the Giants did not put him in a position to fail, because they absolutely did. They gave him bad offensive lines and bad talent. I mean, all he had was Saquon for most of that time. They gave Kenny Golladay a big contract. I mean, for God's sakes, this team has been mismanaged more times than I can count. But this needs to be the turning of a chapter. This needs to be the turning of a page to a better era for the Giants. Now it starts and it will end with Tommy DeVito as the QB1 of this season, or the rest of the season rather. But why do they make this move? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what the decision was here, why they did this, some things that we've been seeing online. I think that a lot goes into this decision. Now, Brian Dable just announced, as you said, Daniel Jones is headed to QB3, which means he will be inactive every week. He will not play another down for this Giants team. If they somehow lose DeVito and lose Drew Lock, I would bet my money they go out and get a freaking quarterback off the waiver wire, off the free agent list, the guys that are remaining, before they let Daniel Jones take another snap for this organization. And why, you might ask? Because they have now 100% committed to that $23 million injury clause. They do not want to risk losing, right? They do not want to risk that cap hit, and they cannot put him back in a game. It is now off the table. He is inactive for the rest of his career with the Giants. He will be gone after the season. The second the new league year starts, Daniel Jones will be off this football team. Now, what does that mean for the Giants? Well, it means $19 million in available salary space next year. It means $22 million in dead money they have to pay. It means they are now looking at drafting a quarterback. Now the entire league is on notice. I mean, if they weren't already. The Giants are drafting a quarterback next year, whether they have to move up to get one or they end up with a pick good enough to do it. Now, what does Tommy DeVito bring to the table? It's not much. It's probably better than Daniel Jones, but it's not going to be like day and night with an offense, in my opinion. I still think this offense is bottom barrel. They're still going to lose a lot of games. What Tommy DeVito does bring is, like you said, like you texted me before, Anthony, asses in seats. People want to watch Tommy DeVito. People want to see him play. Even if he sucks, even if he's not good, they want to watch Tommy DeVito play. Why? Because there is now a whole storyline. There's a whole group of people that love Tommy DeVito for his heritage, for what he did last year, all the different things. the Giants are a losing team. They're going to play like they're a losing team, not because they have no new inspiration, because they are just not a good football team, guys. The personnel's bad. The depth is bad. They have injuries. They have problems, right? DeVito's walking into a situation where his offensive line is once again problematic, but better than he had last year by a significant margin. I think Dan Duggan made a really good point, though. In the games that the Giants won when Tommy DeVito was playing last year, it was Commanders, New England, and then they beat the Green Bay Packers. The Giants had 12 takeaways in those 3 games combined. They have only 8 takeaways this season in general. So their defense would have to go on an unprecedented run to give them a real chance at winning these games, in my opinion. I don't think the Giants will win any games because Tommy DeVito's starting. Maybe they have slightly more offensive production. I think the Cowboys are really the only team that we will compete against because they're equally as bad as we are right now. But this is a move because they have to protect themselves against Daniel Jones. I think that they want people, asses in seats, but I don't think this makes the Giants significantly better. I know you have a different opinion than I do, but I just don't see how this makes them a winning football team by any measurement.
They have a quarterback who can throw the ball downfield. That makes them a better football team objectively. I don't know why the face is like, I don't understand why people are discrediting. The revisionist history to discredit Tommy DeVito is so insane to me. I don't know why Giants fans are doing that. Like, I get we're salty about the fact that he won those games and we didn't get the quarterback of our dreams in the draft, but like, he did play good football. People are talking about him like as if he was the worst quarterback in the NFL in those starts. He played good games. Yes, the turnover differential was great for the Giants. All that stuff true. How many times have we seen the turnover differential be in favor of the Giants, and Daniel Jones still doesn't move the ball downfield and we lose? Tommy DeVito did maximize those opportunities. He did win games. He stood there in the pocket and he threw the ball downfield. He hit 20-plus yard passes downfield. When was the last time Daniel Jones hit a 20-plus yard pass downfield that actually had a meaningful impact on a football game? It doesn't happen. Tommy DeVito actually stood in the pocket and made those throws. Like, this team is better now that we're having the quarterback change. Isn't that what we've been arguing all along, Alex? Is that if we put in a different quarterback, we'll be able to throw the ball downfield. It doesn't matter who it is. This offense will no longer be handicapped. I don't want to walk that back. I'm standing on that. Whether it was Drew Lock, whether it was Tommy DeVito, Tyrod Taylor, or whoever, taking Daniel Jones out of the lineup was going to make this team better, and I do agree with that. I think that Tommy DeVito has the ability to force the ball into tighter windows than what Daniel Jones has done this season. Daniel Jones has held onto the ball way too long, taken a bunch of sacks, ran himself into pressure, thrown the ball 15 feet over wide open receivers' heads while they're downfield, and just stared down wide open players and tucked the ball and taken a sack anyway. Tommy DeVito last year, yeah, he took a lot of sacks, but a lot of that was just trying to buy time and wait for somebody to get open. It wasn't open guys downfield and then taking a sack. There's a huge difference between those two things, Alex. Whether you have 2 wide open guys on a 3rd and 1 flea flicker and you're taking a sack, or there's nobody open and you're holding onto the ball and taking a sack. Tommy DeVito just was dealing with a lot of practice squad players. Now he's stepping back into this lineup with an improved offensive line, an improved play caller in Brian Daboll, and improved weapons, and we expect him to be worse than he was last year. He should be at least as good as he was last season, if not better. So I know that's probably not what a lot of Giants fans want to hear. It probably means that the Giants are going to win some games down the stretch, and I understand that that's frustrating. But at the same time, Brian Daboll is playing for his job, and I think he understands that he can win with Tommy DeVito, and he's going to put Tommy DeVito out there because he knows Tommy DeVito is a decent quarterback who can win some football games down the stretch. Tommy DeVito said it himself, Alex. I don't know where Giants fans get this narrative. Giants fans always misvalue their own players. I say that all the time, and I think it's true here. Tommy DeVito said it during the preseason. If the Giants had put him on their practice squad, another team was going to sign him to give him a starting opportunity. He said that he knew that for a fact. I knew that for a fact too. Obviously, some team was going to make him a QB2, fringe QB2/1, and give him a legitimate opportunity after what he did last year. As a rookie, to go ahead, play 6 games, win 3 of them, not throw an interception in those 3 starting wins, that was a lot of potential shown from a rookie. I get it. He was undrafted. He's not a highly sought after prospect. Like, I get all of those things are true, but even still, take what he did and put it in a vacuum. If we had a first-round pick due last year, what Tommy DeVito did, we would be calling him the future of the franchise. But because he was an undrafted free agent and we saw the flaws in his game, we're not calling him the future of the franchise. But what he did last year was impressive. I don't think fans should be discrediting it, and I think that when you look at what he did last year and try and translate that over to this year's lineup, which is better, I don't know how we can expect him not to play even better football than what Daniel Jones has given us this season. I think he is a clear-cut, obvious upgrade over Daniel Jones. I don't care about Daniel Jones running over 2 defenders to fall into the end zone in Washington. That doesn't make him a good quarterback just because he's a good running back, okay? I think that's so ridiculous that his rushing ability has taken him this far in his career because he ran for 7 touchdowns in 2022. Guy should not have been starting after week 1. If the New York Giants made the quarterback change after week 1, we'd probably still be in the playoff race because you know what? Then Joe Shane's argument of having all these one-score games would be a legitimate argument because maybe we do win some of those one-score games. And maybe Tommy DeVito does make that extra play like he did last year in some of those tightly contested games. So I don't really understand how, you know what? Let me rephrase this. We're going to praise the Giants for finally making this move, Alex, and benching Daniel Jones, but I also think that we need to criticize them as well for waiting until week 11. I get that they wanted to wait until the bye week so that Tommy DeVito now has a full week to practice with the ones and get ready for game day, but had they made this change after week 4 when we all knew it was inevitably going to happen, would we not be sitting in a better position? Would we not possibly have an opportunity to compete for a playoff spot? And again, Alex, I know a lot of fans don't want us to compete for a playoff spot. We want to be competing for the number 1 overall pick. But from an objective standpoint, if you're the head coach, owner, or GM of this team, competing for a playoff spot is the goal. And if the Giants made this quarterback change a lot sooner, I think that they would be competing for a playoff spot. Though I think you might disagree with me because you don't have much confidence in Tommy DeVito. And I get it, this roster stinks. But like I said, Tommy DeVito, he did a lot of good things last year as a rookie. He had never played NFL ball last year. Sure, there were flaws in his game, like there are with all rookies. But he's had a whole year now. He didn't have a training camp with the Giants last year. He had a training camp this year. He's been on this roster the entire regular season. I don't think it's unreasonable to assume that he looks better than he did last year with improved weapons around him stepping back into the lineup. I think that we could see better football from Tommy DeVito, and I definitely know that from Tommy DeVito we're going to see better football than the bullshit that we've seen from Daniel Jones over the last several weeks.
I don't disagree with you that we're going to see better than Daniel Jones because that's really not a hard thing to beat, but I don't want to I'm not going to say you're going to act like Tom DeVito's the future of this organization or the future of this franchise, right? Like
I'm not acting like that either.
He's just a placeholder. Like he's a placeholder for the rest of the season. That is his role in this equation. I don't disagree that he will be better than Daniel Jones. I think that literally anybody else would have been better than Daniel Jones. He was just that bad. I mean, not only was his confidence shot, but he just can't read the field. He can't make the throws. He does no anticipation. Everything about him. People talking on social media like he's going to have a Sam Darnold, Geno Smith arc. This dude does not have the talent. He does not throw with anticipation. He does not process the field at all. At all. Sam Darnold at least processes the field. He just was stuck with a freaking horrible Jets organization and needed to be reset. And he went to the Shanahan coaching tree, and look what happened. Ends up with the Vikings and, obviously ends up back on top, but to a degree. Geno Smith, his arc took years, years and years and years. And he's still, he's not a great quarterback. He's a good quarterback, and he's inconsistent and volatile. And the Seattle Seahawks are in kind of purgatory right now because they're not good enough to win they're not good enough to win the playoffs, and they're just barely good enough to kind of be in the middle of the pack. They're kind of where you don't want to be. You either want to be on the upswing or you want to be figuring out what you're going to do. The Giants at least now know what their future holds, and it is a rookie quarterback. So I will say this. Tommy DeVito coming in here, yes, I think he's going to play better than Daniel Jones. But by no means do I think this team is going to be good, right? I think this team is still going to have a bottom 5 offense. They are still going to be very hard-pressed to move the football. It's going to be Tyrone Tracy's game. It's still going to be run heavy for them. Tommy DeVito is going to be early season form. By the time he is in mid-season form per se, the season will be coming to an end. You know what I mean? The Buccaneers are actually a really good test for him on week 1. For him basically being week 1. They have a solid team, really good offense. Their defense is inconsistent, but they have a good pass rush. They've lost 4 straight games. They need to win. Their backs are against the wall. Giants are a get-right game. Can Tommy DeVito step in and make something happen? I mean, really, it's going to come down to the defense. The defense is going to give up 25-plus points to the Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield's a good player. And it really comes down to, can Tommy DeVito score over 20 points? That's going to be a big test for him in week 1. I do think that when it comes to Malik Neighbors, just as they've been doing, they're going to force him the ball. And, it's going to be a lot of the same concepts. I just wonder, will DeVito get rid of the ball efficiently and hit those guys, and maybe he will, and maybe that is something that we see. I'm not saying he's not going to do that. He might absolutely do that. But I just want to make it clear that we are staring at the exact same situation that we did last year. Right? This is almost identical. Like, literally, like, take 2023 and replicate it. This is exactly what we're looking at. If he wins a couple games right now and we miss out on Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders, we are fucked, like, lack of a better term. Like, we're not going to be able to draft a quarterback, and we're going to be stuck taking a Drew Aller or a freaking Nussmeier who is not ready for the NFL, or a Jackson Dart. You know what I mean? Like, that's the truth. I don't know how you argue against that.
I don't think it's the truth. I don't think it's the truth. I do disagree with it because last year the Giants won those games down the stretch and ended up with the 6th pick, and then told themselves that they want to get a quarterback, but it's not an absolute necessary. It's not a do or die thing.
Now
so
it
they
is,
ended
though.
up taking Malik Neighbors. Now it is. So now they will trade the farm to get that quarterback if they have to.
But that's assuming.
That is the difference. They don't have anything stopping them from doing that now. Daniel
They
Jones
do,
stopped
though.
them from doing that.
They do have something from stopping them to do that. Right now, the Giants have the 5th pick. If they win 2 games down the stretch and they're sitting at 9 or 10, and Tennessee, who's probably going to draft a quarterback, Will Levis sucks. Cleveland's going to draft a quarterback, and Vegas. Jacksonville may be the only team. Jacksonville has to win or has to lose, right? If Jacksonville loses, then the Giants can trade the farm to get their guy. But if they don't end up 1 or 2, if they end up at 3 or 4, and Vegas, Cleveland, and Tennessee, the Giants are missing out on the top 2 quarterbacks in this draft class. Like, 100% guaranteed. No?
I don't think it's 100% guaranteed. I think that there's a lot to be done. I think that those teams could find quarterbacks in free agency. So could the Giants. Giants can make a trade for a quarterback as well. My point is, the Giants winning games doesn't necessarily mean that they have zero chance of finding a quarterback of the future this offseason. The fact that they're benching Daniel Jones means that they're going to go all in to find that quarterback. So whether they win these games or not, they will not rest until they get a new quarterback in here. So it's different than last year. Last year, had they been picking number 3, they would have happily taken the quarterback. But when they were picking number 6, they still had Daniel Jones under contract. They decided, we don't need to die for this quarterback. Now, they have to die for the quarterback. So it doesn't matter what happens for the rest of the season. Whether they're picking 15th or 1st, they're going to end up with a quarterback this offseason. They don't have a choice. It is now their number 1 priority and need. So I don't necessarily agree that winning a couple games down the stretch is going to screw them out of a quarterback. No matter what, whether they find one on the trade market, whether they find one in free agency, whether they find one in the first round of the draft, they will get their quarterback this offseason. Now, it might not be the quarterback that we want and like, Alex. It might not be Shadur or Cam with the number 2 or number 1 overall pick. That might not be the case anymore. However, it might end up being somebody that we don't even foresee. I know you've thrown the name Kirk Cousins out there a couple times in the past. I know Matt Stafford has been a hot name before. There are other players out there who will become available who are not available right now. But by the time we get to the offseason, when the Giants are desperate and need a quarterback and can't rest until they get one, they will be able to find one. That's the point that I'm trying to make. I don't disagree with you that winning games is going to hurt us down the stretch. It absolutely is. The higher draft pick, the less we have to trade up, the more likely we are to just draft our guy. All that is true. But what I'm saying is, we're not in the same position as last year because we don't have Daniel Jones under this contract for the future. He's getting cut in the offseason, which means that the Giants can move freely, do whatever they want, and just replace him. They don't have to worry about him and having another rookie. Remember when we watched Hard Knocks, Alex, and they had to have a sit-down chat with Daniel Jones and be like, hey, I don't want you to be upset if J.J. McCarthy is here on Monday morning. I don't want you to have your feathers ruffled. Now they don't have to give a fuck about his feelings. I don't give a fuck about his feelings. I don't know why they gave a shit about his feelings, but now they really don't have to because he's not going to be in the building. So they can do whatever they want, twerk as hard as they want, throw away as many assets as they want, get that quarterback. It's not the same as last year.
This is the counter to that is this, like, it has to be a rookie quarterback, right? Like, Sam Darnold isn't putting people in seats. Jameis Winston's not putting people in seats. Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders will put.
If Darnold
they're
wins,
going to be mid though. Like, look at the Vikings;
filled.
they're regressing significantly right now. You know what I mean? Like,
the Vikings
they're
team
not
has holes though. Like,
but also, like, you're talking about Sam Darnold going from a well-run Vikings offense to a Giants offense that has so many holes still. You know what I mean? Or like a Jameis Winston who's struggling with the Browns too right now.
I'm not saying Sam Darnold going to the Giants. I'm saying if the Giants quarterback, whoever it is winning, the seats will be filled.
Yes, but if we are stuck where, like, let's say the Seahawks are right now, where they're kind of a mid team, like they're not making the playoffs, but they're not losing enough to get a new quarterback, or like losing enough to turn the page. A lot of teams are like that. Like, I'd rather get a rookie quarterback that can provide us hope and upside to get to like that point where like we're perennial playoff teams, or at least while duration of that prime, than take a shot on like a Darnold or a Jameis Winston, but we know that they are capped. We know they're not going to push the the baton forward. So, my counter is simply this: the Giants need to lose because they also can't afford to give away the farm. You know what I mean? This team has so many holes, so much depth problems, so many problems across the board, right? If they have to give up 2 first-round picks to move up to get Cam Ward in a weak quarterback class, or Shedeur Sanders in a weak quarterback class, that could be the nail in the coffin, right? Like that, if they fail to do that and they give away massive draft capital, and those 2 quarterbacks fail and they fire Joe Shane, they fire Brian Dable, nobody's going to want to come here. Because now we're going to have no draft capital for the future. We're going to have a struggling young quarterback who is in a bad position to going to another regimen. The same thing that happened to Daniel Jones multiple times. Losing is in the best interest of this team right now. I know they're not going to lose on purpose, but like they have to draft a quarterback, and they can't give up the farm because they're going to compromise. And I know that first round picks are a shot in the dark, right? Like, obviously you never guarantee anything, but we're hoping for multiple things here. We're hoping that one of the 3 teams that are vying for a quarterback right now don't end up in the spot to take Sanders and Cam Ward, which they could absolutely well be if the Jacksonville Jaguars win a game or 2, which, for what it's worth, I don't think they will, because Mac Jones is just horrid. I mean, God, if you watch them, they're about to sale everybody. Like, they're about to fire their entire coaching staff right now. So I don't think the Jacksonville Jaguars win another game, but the Giants are going to say this to them, basically. Like, we're going to give you 2 first-round picks, or a first-round pick depending on where we end up, right? We're going to end up drafting, just ahead, or going up to get that guy and giving up draft capital to do it. And then we're going to give the Jaguars a chance to, like, restock around Trevor Lawrence, get, like, a Travis Hunter plus another pick. They'll have 2 first-round picks in 2026. Like, we're going to give the Jacksonville Jaguars an option, like an opportunity at seeing the light. They may go get a really good GM, whatever it might be. So, like, that's fine. You do that for your quarterback. You have to. But, like, also being in a position where, like, we now have to go after the quarterback, we have to do whatever it takes. The league knows it. They're gonna price gouge us. They're gonna know that if we have to move up, they're gonna take everything that we got. You know what I mean? They're gonna tear us to shreds to get it, and it's okay because we have to do that. Like, it just is what it is. But I'd rather not. You know what I mean? I'd rather just lose and get the guy anyway.
I get that, but also, do you want Brian Dable to coach this guy? Because that's part of this.
I think waving the white flag now, like, I think if they were going to get fired, it would have already happened, or it would be happening, because they just waved the white flag. So. Like, they just kissed the season goodbye. You know what I mean? Like, they just kissed the season goodbye. Done.
I think what they're doing is trying to light a spark, like Brian Dable said. I think he's trying to win some games to save his job. So if you want Brian Dable to coach this next quarterback,
I don't really care if he does, though.
Well, then that's a totally different discussion. But
now
I don't know if I trust. I'll speak to
guys.
Giants fans who I know a lot of Giants fans do want Brian Dable to coach the next quarterback. That's what they want. If that's what you want, Tommy DeVito needs to win a couple games down the stretch. So you have to decide as a Giants fan: do you want to just lose out, blow up everything, have a 2-win season, take your quarterback with the number 1 pick, or do you want Brian Dable to win a couple games down the stretch with a backup quarterback so that he can still draft a guy and develop him in 2025? That's the difference here. That's why they make the quarterback change. If they really just wanted to tank out and go 2 wins and take the quarterback, Daniel Jones probably keeps starting because he's terrible and they know that they can lose. But Brian Dable has to win a couple games here to keep his job, in my opinion. So Tommy DeVito goes in, and if they do win a couple games, yeah, it will hurt the draft stock, Alex, but it will also increase the probability for Brian Dable to continue coaching this team. So it's just up to you and other Giants fans to decide whether or not they care about that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. And do I want to see Brian Dable get that young quarterback? Yes, I do. I think that we hired him to do that, and they gave him Daniel Jones, who his just ability to process, like, everything about him, he was capped, right? Who knows who the right fit will be for the Giants, whether it's Ward or Sanders, I don't know. We'll see what happens in a couple months. But when all is said and done, if John Mara decided to blow this thing up, he was just waiting until the end of the season to do it, I would understand, right? I would get it. I'd be like, okay, you know what? I understand why they did it, underperformed, this and that, but also at the same time, like, you have to acknowledge that, like, Mara doesn't want to do this again. Like, he doesn't want to blow things up and go through the whole process. I think he's tired of it. You know what I mean? And they've already, I mean, Joe Sheen has publicly come out and said that John Mara is committed to him for another season, him and Brian Dable. So, like, I think him publicly saying that, I don't think he would say that unless John Mara told him that was okay to say, knowing how much Mara is involved in this situation already. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Well, Joe Shane said that he's confident in his job, and then he was asked to give kind of an opinion of what Brian Dable has done so far, and he didn't necessarily choose to give one. I think that Joe Shane feels confident that he's keeping his job. Joe Shane has the ability to fire Brian Dable. You know,
he won't,
even
though,
if John
you know,
Mara wants to keep him.
But he
same
knows,
way that
like,
he let Saquon Barkley walk when John Mara wanted Saquon Barkley to be kept.
Sure.
He can fire Brian Dable, and it didn't necessarily sound like he was married to him at the press conference. So I'm not saying that he's going to fire Brian Dable. That's not at all what I'm saying. I think that Brian Dable is probably safe, but like I said a few episodes ago, I think that John Mara giving this vote of confidence to both of them was really just, I'm going to wait until the end of the year to make any decisions. He said he doesn't anticipate any firings at the end of the year. However, his anticipation has not always been correct. He's had the wrong anticipations before, and he's ended up firing guys that he didn't anticipate he would fire. And I think that could happen again if the Giants go 2-15 to finish the year. I think he might change his mind. And I think the key here is going to be, when we get to the end of the season, who is available? Are there some really hot GM candidates, some really hot head coaching candidates? Are there culture changers, guys who could reset what's going on in this building and fix things? Does John Mara see any of that? Does he bring in a third party? In the past, they've done this. They've brought in a third party to do an evaluation of the organization before deciding whether or not to fire the head coach and GM. Do they do something like that again? Totally possible. So while he doesn't anticipate any firings, once we get to the end of the year, if they really only have 2 wins, I think John Mara is going to be pissed off, and I think he's going to hit the button, and I think he's going to blow it up and make some firings. So that's just my point here. I'm not saying Tommy DeVito is the savior of this franchise. I'm not saying he's a franchise quarterback. I'm saying they probably are going to win a couple games down the stretch because of Tommy DeVito. I think that he is going to provide a spark, and they're going to play some better football. That's going to save Brian Dable's job, but it's also going to hurt our chances of getting the number 1 overall pick. Now it's just up to Giants fans to figure out which one of those things you want to see happen. Would you rather the Giants blow up everything, new quarterback, new coach, new GM, or do you want to keep some things in place while also getting that new quarterback? That's just going to be a tricky thing for Joe Shane to manage, but if you do believe in Joe Shane and you think he should still be here, then you probably want to see this team win at least 2 more games so that he can make those decisions. Otherwise, you want somebody else to make those decisions and be handed a number 1 overall pick. And honestly, I'm open to both things. I'll just put it out there, my opinion. If the Giants fire everybody, I'm open to it. I would like to see Brian Dable come back, but if they make the change at the end of the season, I have an open mind.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is I don't know what they're gonna do, but Brian Dable, I think, is safe for this next year. I mean, similar to what you said before, what he helped Tommy DeVito do last year. We got a little inkling into what he could do for a quarterback that actually has potential, right? A little inkling, a little taste, a little appetizer. Daniel Jones is just that bad. Like, he literally just couldn't take to the coaching. He couldn't take to the offense. If you give Brian Dable anybody else, I think we see potential there. I think we see upside. I think we see progress, right? And like what you're saying with Tommy DeVito, I think we will see better than Daniel Jones because he is capable of improvement. But I don't think that Tommy DeVito is a good quarterback, and I don't think that he's going to win a lot of games with this team. I think that maybe we'll see marginally better offensive production, but this defense is still getting shredded, guys. Like, we're still getting our defense is not good right now, and we're not creating takeaways.
Watch the defense play harder now. I bet you the defense starts playing with a lot more effort now that they've made the quarterback change.
It's possible, but at the same time, many will probably view this season as dumb because they just benched their expensive quarterback. A lot of people had Daniel Jones' back on that team. You know what I mean? Like, if Tommy DeVito starts slinging the rock and starts putting things together, maybe there's a sense of pride and they kick into gear here and they do compete better. But even a little bit more effort, I don't think wins them games. Like, they're not a good team. You know what I mean? Like, they're still a bad team, even with a little bit of effort. So,
I mean,
you know, with that being,
I don't disagree with you, but I'm just going to keep playing devil's advocate here because I think it's important to look at this from both angles. This is a Giants team that surrendered 20 points to the Panthers, 27 to the Commanders, 26 to the Steelers. That's not high bars to reach. We just don't have an offense that scored more than 20 points in any of those games. Our offense just sucks. I don't think I don't think this defense is far off. I think the Giants have a good defense. I think this defense just gave up like 5 weeks ago because they knew that they were going nowhere with this quarterback. I think that with a new quarterback in there, if they are scoring points on offense, these games are going to be closer. These games might actually end up falling in favor of the Giants because they're not banking on getting one more stop, and now they're banking on getting one more touchdown. And I think their likelihood of getting one more touchdown has increased by taking Daniel Jones out of the lineup.
It probably has, but I'd also like to point out that the Giants are giving up more points and having more possession, which is like so freaking sad. Like they're having 4 to 6 minutes of more possession and giving up 27 plus points a game, 26 plus points a game. But listen, like this is a team that the next stretch of games, I mean, the Buccaneers are on a 4-game lose streak, but their offense is electric. Like, they will score against us. So, can we outscore the Buccaneers? We'll find out. Thanksgiving against the Cowboys is legitimately a winnable game for the Giants because Cooper Rush is that bad. It really just depends on how good the pass rush is for Dallas that day. Their defense has been really, really bad, but we know Dallas, and they show up against the Giants. And the Giants, I mean, they just managed to look bad. The Saints, they're playing better football. They've won 2 straight games. You know, they beat the Falcons and they beat the Browns. They blew the Browns out, to be quite frank. Not that they're a good indication of good football, and then you have the Ravens, and the Ravens are going to kick our ass. The Falcons are regressing significantly, so that's you never know. But the Colts, I think, beat us. I think, they beat the Jets, and the Jets are a better team than us, even though they're horrible. And then the Eagles are going to kill us to end the season. So, maybe the Giants do win 2 games down the stretch. Maybe it's definitely possible. Like, they could. But it is not in the best interest of this team for them to win from a fan perspective. But from Brian Dable's perspective, maybe it is. Maybe this does say, but does 4-whatever save his job? Like, what's the difference between 4-14 or 4-13 and 2-6 and 2-15? You know what I mean?
The difference would be if he's 2-8 with Daniel Jones, and then he's 3-4 with Tommy DeVito. That's the difference. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but doesn't that indicate
it's not a 5-win season in total? I think that's more of an indictment on Joe Shane.
It's totally possible that it is, and more so I think that it's an indication that Brian Dable can develop a quarterback, but then winning those 2 games may put them out of position to get a quarterback, which is the risk you run. You know what I mean?
And that's what I was saying. The real way that we can boil this all down into a summary, the Giants are in the shittiest position possible. Like, they are literally sitting in the worst spot that they possibly could be, because now they have to balance, do they want to win games to save jobs? Do they want to tank so that they can get a quarterback? This is the worst place that you want to be. Making this quarterback change is great. We're celebrating it. We don't want to watch Daniel Jones anymore. I'm excited to watch Tommy DeVito. But at the end of the day, the number one takeaway is that the Giants are in the worst situation possible. How they could have gotten out of the situation, Alex? Get a quarterback last year, even if it was with the number 6 overall pick. I caught a lot of flack on this channel by saying the Giants should have taken a QB at 6, said that they should have taken J.J. McCarthy. I was more than happy to do so. I stand by it. I think that they should have probably taken a quarterback. If they did, we would be sitting here with J.J. McCarthy, whether he tore his meniscus or not. Maybe, if he's not in Minnesota, he doesn't tear his meniscus, and he starts as a rookie for the Giants, and we have a bright future with a rookie quarterback. And then we take Travis Hunter, and we have the playmaker as well. Or he does tear his meniscus, he's on the bench the entire year, but we know going into this upcoming 2025 season, we have a rookie quarterback with stability from a great quarterback class, and we can take the best playmaker possible in the 2025 NFL Draft. Taking a quarterback was the right decision. We said that all offseason long. Now, that's not to discredit Malik Nabers, because I think it's very clear and obvious that I thought he was the number 1 talent in the draft class, and I was thrilled to have him, and I am still thrilled to have him. And I'm excited that he's probably going to score more touchdowns now to finish out the season. He hasn't scored a touchdown in several weeks, Alex. It's ridiculous how hard it's been for Daniel Jones to get the ball to Malik Nabers in advantageous situations. Now, he's going to have those opportunities. He's going to get into the end zone. I truly do believe that Tommy DeVito is at least going to throw a couple F-it balls up there for Malik Nabers to go ahead and grab. Daniel Jones just doesn't throw those F-it balls. I think that's a big difference maker. But like I said, right now in this situation, Giants have to start a 3rd stringer to protect their future salary cap situation. Tells you how bad this general manager screwed things up on his first year on the job. So we're in the worst situation possible. It's a complete mess. The final 7 weeks ultimately do decide the fate of the New York Giants, but it also decides, again, the fate of who's going to be the quarterback, who's going to be the head coach. There's a lot hanging in the balance right now, but let's see how the season finishes out. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be controversial for sure, and there's going to be a lot to cheer about. There's going to be a lot to cry about. But we'll, of course, be doing all of that right here on Fireside Giants.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best case scenario is that we see Tommy DeVito look good right? And Brian Dable shows that he can get the most out of a quarterback. And by the way, like objectively speaking, Sanders or Cam Ward has a lot more upside than Tommy DeVito, right? From a physical trait standpoint. I think you could agree with that.
I'm kidding. Yeah,
even you could agree with that.
I'm fucking with you now. Yeah, obviously.
So the best case scenario is that we see a lot more from DeVito, but still lose. You know what I mean? Because then, like, okay, we see that Brian Dable can get the most out of these quarterbacks. It convinces John Mara that, okay, we get the young quarterback, the rookie guy that Dable can maximize, but we still lose these games and put ourselves in a place to just take one and not have to give up the farm and future draft capital to get it done. That's the best case scenario. We prove that we can get more but still lose. Now it's possible that we get more and win, especially against teams like the Cowboys, who are obviously dead in the water along with us. But I do think we're going to see more from Neighbors, and the main reason we will is because Tommy DeVito will take those risks. He will throw interceptions. He will throw bombs. He will just sling that thing and hope for the best. And sometimes that's what good quarterbacks do. Sometimes that's what it takes to have an operating offense. In terms of explosive production, DeVito is going to offer more explosiveness to this offense on play one than Daniel Jones has done all season long. We're going to see more deep downfield attempts. And look, Tommy DeVito's arm strength, like he's not going to sling the rock 60 yards on a dime, but like he can hit those hole shots. He can be anticipatory and throw 30, 40-yard passes and get the ball where it needs to be on good route runner and on good routes. And we know that this Giants team has some good route runners. Like Wan'Dale's a good route runner. Neighbors is a good route runner. Honestly, I'd like to see more Jalen Hyatt moving forward. If you're just going to go full on, like wave the white flag, like I would like to see Darius Slayton sitting on the bench and Jalen Hyatt playing more if that's the case. And if we're going in that direction, because Slayton's definitely gone after this year. Like there's no reason in playing him anymore. The Giants should be 100% committed to playing every young player they can possibly get on the field right now. Jalen Hyatt, Theo Johnson, anyone on defense. Who?
Josh Azidu?
Josh, nah, we don't want people to die. Okay,
all right, no, I'm messing with you now.
we're not in the murder business. I know you're all at the Sopranos right now. We're not in the murder business. This is not a situation. We want Tommy's head to be on a spike somewhere. So yes, like maybe keep Josh Azidu out of it, but maybe the other guys are a little bit bit more probable.
Give me some more Chapman.
Give me some more Elijah Chapman. Maybe a little bit more. Maybe a little bit more like I forget what his name was. The linebacker behind Micah McFadden, the Hawaiian dude. I can't pronounce his name.
Darius Masua.
Maybe a little bit more Masua. Anybody else in like the second? I mean, most of our
give me somebody at
young guys
safety
anyway.
over Jason Pinnock, because Jason Pinnock, I guess more Dane Belton. Dane Belton's been terrible.
So bad though.
Jason Pinnock hasn't been great either. I think he's banged up right now anyway. But we need to see more from young players in the secondary, in my opinion.
Yeah, they had a couple practice squad guys that were decent in training camp, but like I don't think they're going to elevate those guys.
Yeah,
I mean, our secondary is so young anyway. Like, of course, Drew Phillips and Tyler Nubin and Banks.
We really need a veteran in that unit, but
they need DJ Reed. So like I'm looking at the cap space right now, and I know the Jets may not let him go, but they probably will.
Travarius Ward, somebody. They just need somebody.
So yeah, he's also a good option. What you can do with Daniel Jones's contract is the last thing I'll say. Just to wrap it up, but Daniel Jones' contract, if they designate him a post June 1st cut, they will only pay $11 million in cap space next year and $11 million in 2026. So they basically just reserve that $22 million. Instead of paying it all at once, they can just spread it out to 2 years. So you can give your rookie quarterback, whoever you draft, more support. A DJ Reed on defense, maybe even go and get a decent right guard in free agency with that extra $10 million. You could do that.
Yeah, but you're not getting that $10 million until after June. Like, you don't get it. It's not effective until after June. So in March, when all the free agents are available, you can't use that money.
But you just agreed to the Giants did it this past year in the way that they just agreed to the contract and didn't sign them until after June. But they were, ready to go. They just waited to sign some of them.
I don't know if the top free agents on the market are going to do something like that, though.
Well, you could probably afford to pay the first top free agent. You could always restructure contracts. You're getting a rookie quarterback anyway. Like, you might as well restructure Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns.
I don't know. That's going to be interesting to keep an eye on once we get closer into the offseason. I think the financial situation probably just the financials and how
probably should just take it to the chin.
I think they should probably just get it over with.
You're probably right, and they probably will do that. They'll cut him immediately. Like the second they're able to, they will cut him most likely when the season ends. And that physical, and he passes his physical, whatever. Like, I think he will pass that physical now because they benched him. But you're probably right. They'll probably take it to the chin. They'll develop that rookie quarterback, And that first year is going to be so important. And then year 2, they're like, okay, now we're ready to really install, like really win games and have this player take a big step forward. And now you have a whole bunch of money to spend. Now you have a lot of money to spend. And like, just looking at, okay, like, we'll do a little bit more. We'll do a whole episode on what the financial situation looks like for the Giants in the future, because I think that warrants its own discussion. For sure. But there's a lot of flexibility now. Like, the Giants are going rookie. They're going rookie quarterback. So the financial freedom they have now is going to be really fun to break down. Really excited to look at all the free agents, look at how they can get creative here. They do have a lot of linchpin pieces, so I do feel optimistic about the future. Now it's just about kind of it all coming together and obviously finding that quarterback to begin with. That'll be the next stage in the process.
For sure. And I'm excited to keep scouting all the quarterbacks. I'm also excited, Alex, to see some Tommy DeVito touchdowns. Maybe not everybody is, but I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be really fun. At least we get to watch some excitement on offense for once. Like, it's been an offense devoid of talent for the last 8 weeks, is what I would say. It's just been difficult to watch. But, hey, maybe we'll see some more explosive plays. Maybe Jalen Hyatt, as you mentioned, does get more involved and starts to get some deep downfield receptions. Maybe scores his first career touchdown. That would be fantastic. But there's going to be a lot to talk about throughout the week, so make sure you stay tuned. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. Leave us 5 stars on Apple or Spotify if you're listening there. And go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, we'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one. And let's go Giants.